Images, as this says, can make or break your SEO strategy. Images are a big component to SEO, especially when it comes to WordPress, because I'm sure you've all met people who have, or you yourselves might have uploaded a photo you've taken from your phone right onto a website. And although in some ways that's really great, in other ways it's really terrible because one of the biggest problems and one of the most definitive SEO things is site speed. We know that if it takes longer to get to a website or it takes longer for a website to load, we'll leave. And that's why oftentimes when you'll do a site speed test, you'll see all these things and saying reduce image size. So it's something overlooked in SEO oftentimes because when you do the test, it can seem overwhelming, but there's lots of tools to help us, lots of tools to make images smaller. But what we want to really know is what about images? So it's an opportunity for us to do SEO really well. It's the little things that can make or break our strategy. So we're going to go through we are going to go through today what and how image optimization works, some of the benefits of doing image optimization. We're going to talk about all the characteristics and types of images. You might think those two things are the same, but they're not. And then we're going to talk about content management systems and images. And I have a little checklist and some really awesome resources at the end of this. So we want to do everything we can in SEO to rank. And being an SEO, you can hire a VA to add image alt tags, but when you streamline everything and say you've done your keyword research and you've rewritten your meta descriptions and your titles and your URLs and you've optimized a page for a keyword, that extra little step is the image optimization on the page. So, most important image is at the top. It's probably a personalized image, it's not necessarily a stock image, right? And so we're going to go through all the different parts and steps to ensure that you've optimized an image. And as I said, personalized images are much better than stock images, although useful, good to edit and manipulate them and make them your own. So, what is image optimization? Oh, look, it's loading for me. Images, it's so the main thing is we're going to decrease file size. And we're going to do that using a plugin or a script. We're also going to add an alt tag, and we're always going to think about accessibility because that is going to be the difference between us and them. We're not just stuffing keywords in places, we're actually doing this to help people who, if we take it in the concept of we're doing it to help people see what we can see, that's how we want to look at this, right? We're going to go through all the different components. You can do location targeting in your image if you want. But image optimization works basically by compressing the image. So there's lossy and lossless, which help reduce the image size. And I know they're funny words. And they help us not lose a noticeable amount of quality, but they also make the images lighter. And there's many ways to do this. And so what we're doing is, especially with WordPress, we're going to probably use a plugin tool. I would actually optimize the image first outside of that plugin, then upload it because you want it as light as possible without losing quality. There are some major benefits, which are like faster site speed, you improve your SEO ranking, you can get a higher conversion rate. You can actually show up on the image results page. You can actually tell Google that you don't want an image to show up on the image results page. And they're the heaviest item on a website, right? Except for video, but video we usually host somewhere else and it's fed into our site. But we know a picture is 1,000 words, right? Text, although sometimes I like to read articles with just text, images engage people and engaging people keeps them on a page. And a ranking factor is time on page or engagement, right? So one of our goals is formatting, and we need to find a balance between the lowest file size and acceptable quality. Now, That being said, if you work with graphic designers, there might be a little bit of push and pull, a little tug here and there because they always want the best quality. If you work with real estate agents, you'll get, when you get sent images, you'll get web quality and original size. Graphic designers usually like to work with the original size and then make the decisions themselves on how to resize it. And metadata. There's metadata in photos, like a lot of it. There can be shutter lens and this and that, and longitude and latitude for location, and title and description and keywords, and everything is captured in the image behind it. This is what it looks like. Now we can go in, and things you want to pay attention to are, you can put a URL in, you can put a title in, say the date when it's modified, you can put a description in, title, another description. So you can put a lot. And this is also where you'd put some sort of attribution if people can't copy the image or if they shouldn't. So yeah, after you deal with the metadata, you want to know some different characteristics about images, right? Like their physical size, that's going to be in the dimensions. So that's when somebody's a 600 by 800 pixel. And then you have the file weight. Now that's what we're most interested in, which is the kilobytes. And so each file is going to have a certain weight to it. And then the resolution is going to be in pixels. Now, resolution is probably what is going to interest a graphic designer. So, resolution and physical size. And then there's the types, right? We have the regular PNG, JPEG, WebP, SVG, and GIF. Those are the ones you're going to see. What you need to remember is that you want your image to be less than 100 kilobytes. Now, sometimes that can be really hard to do when your image is like the full width of a computer screen and you want it really good quality. There's give and take with this, but one of the main things you will see is that images are a big issue for SEO because they're the first things we need to compress, update, and what a lot of work, right? You got a huge image on a site and you're going to have to download it, rename it, maybe look at the metadata, resize it for weight, make sure it's good, upload it. So it does take some work. So the different formats we can just go through quickly, which is quite interesting. So JPEG, you can see it says lossy here. Remember we talked about lossless and lossy. So JPEGs are the ones we're going to mostly use for websites. You don't lose a lot of quality. It isn't noticeable, and they're lighter. They're lighter than PNG files. PNGs have the no background, so that's why people often use PNGs as like logos sometimes. But if you really want to do a good logo, you're probably using an SVG file. So PNG, this is lossless format, so it's a little heavier and it's very colorful. And they're my favorite, but they are heavier to use. They're just a bit of a better quality. And then you have WebP. This is the future. So WebP is a great format. It's the lightest one, and you can use transparency and animation in it. And the file size is super small. But not all search engines can read them or show them. So that's why they probably aren't like the most widely used. And then we have Giphy. I just wanted to add this. I thought it was interesting. Who doesn't like these? And then the scalable vector graphics, you're going to see more for logos and things. Now, if you really want to get into details about the file types, you're probably going to want to talk to a graphic designer. They're going to have definite opinions and be more of the expert. I look at it from an SEO standpoint. So I just wanted to talk quickly about the content management system. So your website and the different websites that you're going to come across mainly and what's going on with them. And I think Phelan can speak a little bit to the Shopify and chime in if he wants. But Shopify compresses the images and you don't have to. So you don't have to worry. Now, that doesn't mean that every photo you take on your phone and load up to a website is going to work. So you still want to be cognizant of size and what you're doing with the image.
If
Uh,
Shopify doesn't automatically compress the files, I have a Shopify and I have a paid like a paid plugin to do that.
Yeah, they do compress it more than like
Well,
WordPress.
Yeah,
there's a
yeah, yeah. With
slight
WordPress.
there. So there's a slight difference in this, which is what the second point is, which is the thing that Shopify does is it magically will create 26 different copies of it that are specific to each different size. So rather than try to load one big one, it'll load the right image for the right window size at that time.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, so that's what they do that's a little bit different. Because if you ever do like inspect element on it, you'll notice that there's so many URLs attached to this one image, and you're wondering what's going on. And then you realize that it's actually every different size. They all get loaded, and then they add in the right one based on the size of the window.
Yeah. It's interesting, but do you pay for that compression software?
Yeah, so basically they have the free version and the paid. So the free version, like, there's so many different types. I obviously went with the cheapest option. So I think the free version on the one I'm using, I've forgotten what one I'm using exactly, but they compress the first 100 images for free, and then anything over 100 images, they compress it for a flat fee until it's very similar to MailChimp. Once you go over 2,000, it's this price. Once you go over 10,000, it's
Okay.
the next price. So you just got to be mindful about how many photos you're adding to all your SKUs and all your products. Because then
Okay.
basically, if you go over a certain threshold, then you're in the next payment cycle, like the next payment price.
Yeah, that could be stressful.
Yeah,
Um,
$40 a month for reducing pictures. It comes to a point where it's like, okay, you might as well just learn Photoshop and just do them
oh
all.
yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is you can do them yourself and get rid of that. So it's time versus money, which is usually always the case. Yeah, I bet you that we should look at the free one, see if it does enough for you. But the Wix also automatically optimizes your images. I don't really use Wix. That this really doesn't mean so you see where it says this means that unless your file is over 25 megabytes, you don't need to resize it. So there is a caveat there. But you do want to be mindful of this because you have a lot of opportunity with SEO with images. Then there is WordPress, which is and Squarespace. So WordPress, you have to optimize the images beforehand. You can upload them, use a plugin to make them lighter. However, you might not make them light enough. And so you just want to be really aware of that and what you're doing. The best way is to resize them, put them up yourself, and then use a plugin as well. So Squarespace also takes the guesswork out of it and creates 7 variations. I think WordPress actually creates 3 variations of your images. So they do something similar to Shopify. So it's very interesting what we all do, but our job is to actually optimize the images. Now, how we're going to do that is number one, we're going to always think about accessibility. And we know that large images slow down our site, so which creates poor user experience. So we're definitely going to pay attention to that. And so we're going to focus on naming. We're going to focus on size, like weight. And we definitely want to, we want to use our keyword in the image. We also want to compress that image. And I'll show you how there's a number of tools you can use. I'm going to show you Photopea today, and I'm actually going to show you how to add metadata and how to make an image smaller. So although Wix, Square, and Squarespace and Shopify do this stuff for you, it's important for you to know and try, right? Don't just say, because you could actually track this and do some image sizing on a page and then write down when you did it, check Search Console, check Google Analytics for that page. And is it doing better? Which would be a fun test. So your primary goal is the balance. And this is where you'll get into arguments with graphic designers. I worked with a graphic designer and she showed me a site and the page she loved the most just had a huge image on it and that was it. And I died a little inside and she was so thrilled. And it was really funny to see that difference between marketers. We know that images aren't crawled as much as web pages. However, you can see how images are ranking in Google Search Console, which is really fun. And as I'm repeating here, large images slow down your site. Just repeat that. And that's one thing to tell business owners, right? Because business owners have no idea. Like basically compressing the image speeds up your time, and there's extra information in here that I'm repeating myself. But it's so we're compressing with two methods. Remember, lossy is JPEG, lossless is PNG. Is that something you need to know and remember forever? No, but it's good to know how to optimize images. Okay, we know that it makes things faster. And as you can see, there's like studies done where you can see there's a faster load time. As soon as you do this and you speed up load time, you'll get a better user experience. And we're seeing an uptick in search results right now across the board on our website. This is a good time to start working on image optimization to see if you can keep going. If you try to do the right things that Google says are the right things, you will end up ranking in Google. And Google has like a whole bunch of reading material we can do on this. And I do have a checklist for you at the end of this. So what do we want? What do we want? We want users to be able to have a great experience. So we want users to find our content, whether it be on the search engine results pages with text or with images. We know images are showing up more and more in the search engine results pages, right? Just like video. So in order to rank, we want to we want to put as much information as we can into the image, and we want to make it as light as possible. Those are the two rules. Like out of everything you get out of this, those are the rules. Yeah.
If you're being super lazy, you just want to get everything done ahead of time and you don't want to sit there and have to start thinking about renaming photos prior to it being on the website, can you upload everything, design the website, and then once the website is live, can you go back and then change all the alt tags for the images?
Yeah, I actually do the alt tags inside WordPress.
Yeah, me
or
too.
inside, but naming the images, like if you have an opportunity to actually name the image as well, it's
Beforehand.
better. If you look at number 3 on this list, URL path, right? When
Mhm.
you name the image, that's what's going to name. So it's going to say website images, and it's going to name whatever the image is. So if you have 0249, that's not a
It's
good experience, right? If a user just sees that, they're not going to see it. So they might see the alt tag, but they might see that. Like when we go in to look at the images, what shows up is the title. You can get a description. So you can't be lazy about it. And I think you actually can rename the
Because I know on
file
Shopify
inside
I
WordPress.
can. On
Yeah.
Shopify I can. I've never tried it on WordPress, but it is something that I want to do for Avatar.
Yeah.
I've been
I
lazy.
think you can. I think you can. In all honesty, doing images on a site can be super time consuming or super fast.
Yeah.
Like you can just go in. When we do the alt tag, so we do keyword research, we rewrite the meta descriptions, we redo the URLs, we do a redirect, and at the same time, then we do the alt tag for the image because we're right there. We know what the page is. When we do try not to keyword stuff, it is very hard.
Yeah, I
But
know.
but the other things that you can do are add structured data markup. That's saying it's an image. Now, y'all learned that last week, but that's pretty in depth. And then we can go over to Google Search Console and look at images. So for WordPress, what I do is I use tiny PNG and make my image lighter, and then I'll upload it. It's that little extra time, but that little extra time is what other people aren't doing. And so I gave you a whole bunch of resources. It's so amazing. The last resource, like this all Google stuff, but like how to read about resource, super fun, honestly, when you read, because let me show you. There's so much information, but I think it can be fun. So this is Google Search Central. So where we get a lot of our information from that we love. And they were doing lightning talks, and this was all about image optimization. So if you don't want an image to show up, you can like click here and do this. What makes a good user experience? And it's saying, do all the right things and create user-friendly sites. And then this actually gives you the structured data information and what you're going to see. So we'll go over to the image part of Google and check that out because that's where it gets interesting. And then Google will give you the structured data if you want it, and then you can provide the information. So Honestly, I do go and look here. This is the original video that Matt Cutts did. I don't believe he's with us any longer. I could be wrong, but this actually shows you. And I thought these
He's
were
not dead.
feels dead. He's never around. I'm like, but if you look at this, the missing, he was sick or something. So he's the main speaker for Google, or he was for the last 10, 15 years.
He was the SEO evangelist, being that he was like a go between regular SEOs and Google. It was his wife who had died of cancer, and it got him to quit Google, and he went and worked at Washington, D.C. for a while.
Okay. So this will tell you, what keyword stuffing is, right? It's like puppy dog, pups, puppies, puppy dogs. And it's showing, you'll see this for alt tag, right? When you name an image, rename an image, so it's puppy. And that's fine. Google's saying that's fine. If it's a puppy, it's a puppy. Best is Dalmatian puppy playing fetch. So let us, and then there's the sitemap stuff. So you don't have to get here. This is like intensive, but there's a couple things I do want to show you. One is, this is free. It's just like Photoshop. But you get ads, but it's online, and you can just drag a photo in here. And to be honest, using these, if you ever want to move to Photoshop and you're not using Photoshop yet, or you find Photoshop super overwhelming, this is a good place to start, because when you move over to Photoshop, a lot of the buttons and levers are all the same. So when you just drag here, let me show you. So you just go to Photopea, looks just like this, right? And then go find an image, pick a new one. This one's adorable. This is a puppy that's named Augie. And you can see, okay, so I got Augie. It's a PSD file. So that's a Photoshop file. And what I want to do here, two things I'm going to always look at are, I'm going to look at file info, and I'm going to try to put as much info as I can. So I can add a parameter. I can do title, add parameters as title. It's like cute dog smiling. And then save. And then you can go through it all and add your source. You can add longitude, latitude if you're doing location stuff. So for local SEO, it has never been proven that actually works well. But this lets you put in keywords. It lets you put in a description. So this gives you and Photoshop's just like this. You can just open up the file and go into, it's always the file info, I believe. Now, the other thing is the size of the file. So this is a really big file because it's a photo and I didn't change it. So if I want to just export, I can choose what I'm exporting. Like, as I said, I like PNG, but as a JPEG, you can go here and it'll give me, right, the size. Now that's a huge photo. I know that a computer is probably at max 1600 by 1600, and it'll auto do it right? And then you can save that. And down here, you can see that's 289 kilobytes. I really want it to be lighter. And so I do that, it takes it down. I could actually be like, it's going to be a smaller image. And so you get to play with images. Look at that. That's okay. Then I'm going to save it. It'll download it for me. Now, sometimes when I open the image, it'll say a slightly different weight, but let's go look at, I wonder. I usually don't go look at the image until I'm uploading something, but you can, when you upload, if I'm going to the image, I can see, I just want to see weight. So this is the original. It's super big. And it weighs 2 megabytes. And then I downloaded that other one. And I'm looking at this, all of a sudden it's smaller and it's 50. That's perfect for me. So I'd upload it. I might want to add the name dog here because nobody's going to know what Augie is. It's telling us different things. So when I upload it, I can that's when I add the alt tag. So image optimization can be fun and easy. We can look at where to add the alt tag. for any websites you want. If you would like to do that, I'll get Phelan to help with that for the Squarespace and Wix.